Hello and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name's Westo Enrico. And behind me, a young man who goes by the name of Spacey. Tonight, we're here to discuss with you what's a life theory? That's the topic. Is that question. What's a life theory? A better question would be, Eric, why did you title it that? And what are you talking about? The answer is somebody left a comment, and that comment said, "Hey, Eric, I like your channel, and I'm subscribing now, and I want to hear about your life theory." I thought to myself, do I have a life theory? And if so, what is it? Well, obviously, I think what the commenter means is like, do you have a master frame that you filter everything life related through? Um, life all boils down to hard boiled eggs. Either you have enough or you don't. And that would be a life theory.
That would be an example of a life theory.
Yeah, it's an example of a life theory. Yeah.
God, I wonder what I have to come up with one that would.
Just close this door. Yeah, I think one of the surefirest ways to get from nothing to life theory is to begin a sentence with, life all boils down to these two things. You're either meow or you're meow. That'd be a life theory. But ideally, a life theory would be, I guess, more.
Oh, I have a life theory for you.
What's that?
Might makes right.
That's not a life theory. I don't think it's a life theory because
it would seem. You mean like a daily life theory? So like.
Well, let's say that was your daily life theory.
like there are two kinds of people in this world.
People who have life theories and people who don't.
Right.
You're clearly the kind that doesn't have a life theory.
Right.
If you're not even alive theoretically, how can you even begin to think you're alive really? That's my question. But I do want to address this question of life theory with as much seriousness as I can bring to it, because it's an interesting question. It's like, is it a good idea to have some narrative collapse of all of life through singular frame or some meta frame or something like that? It gives you the sense of having a life theory, right? I guess I don't have any prevailing one per se. I have several prevailing themes that kind of interweave.
I've had some that have floated through my head at some point, but I couldn't tell you what they were,
Well, I can, Spacey. They were life theories.
Yeah, they're not really important to me.
Is that important to you?
Yeah, it's not. To me, something like a life theory, it's like a piece of trash. Like, I mean, you can keep it around if you want. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. But
hey, are you countervaluing the NI? I'm here with my EHP buddy. Do you have any advice for him? Yes. Make green your favorite color. Stop playing the horses entirely and begin playing the dogs. Take up greyhound racing as your gambling of choice. If you do those three things, something magical will happen. You don't know, who knows what it is. I mean, the thing about EHPs is we're demonstrative TE. We don't take advice, we give advice. It's like, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take advice or that we give good advice. It just means, we're like, hey, don't tell me how to do anything. I'm an EHP. I don't know how to do shit, and that's how I like it. Meanwhile, let me tell you what you're doing wrong.
That was great advice.
Thanks.
Actually.
Yeah, good advice there. I mean, the truth is,
like, he might seem like he's joking, but sometimes he's actually being serious.
ENTPs, it depends on where they are currently as to what the advice would be. Like, I'm fortunate, feel happy to be working with an ENTP kid and his ISTP sister, mostly with him though, and mostly, really, I feel like the most meaningful work's being done with the parents, telling them, you need to change your framing of how you're understanding your kids and shit. Because you can't be expecting things of them that are counter to their nature and expect good results from that. One way or the other. You might be able to force them, but that's not a good thing to have accomplished because you've broken them into being something that they're not. Or you could just listen to me and sort of try to work with your kid and respect the fact that he's going to be all over the map. She called me, she frets. Oh, you got a low score on this part of this fucking stupid standardized test. Well, it's probably because it was boring and pointless and stupid. You know, that's why he didn't do very well on it. How long have I been playing music? Since I was 21. Well, I mean, I was actually in a boys' choir. I was in Pasadena boys' choir from age 8 to 14. I played the harmonica sort of between like 16 to 20 or whatever. But I didn't start playing the guitar until 21, which I think should be encouraging to people who didn't start when they were kids. You don't have to start when you're a kid to get full enjoyment out of a musical instrument. No, you didn't steal it. I was bogarting it. He liberated it.
I don't know. Ever since some old guys did it to me in an alley because I was holding it and talking for too long.
Right.
I was like, yeah, you know what? They're right.
But yeah, right. It is the proper move for sure. And that's a sort of attentional split I just can't quite manage. I can't manage the FE attention required to keep track of shit like that while concurrently reading the chat, engaging with it. I'm feeling pretty. I want to go back to Alexander Hansen's question. I'm feeling pretty good of late about my improving guitar playing skills. I've been really trying to shape each of my songs into a playable NI constant form so that every strum is the same every time I play it, you know, which is not typically I'm a little looser than that. And it's caused my guitar playing to improve because I'm having to get all of the different rhythms mostly. I don't really do a lot of noodling. I do a lot of different stuff with the rhythm of it. My right hand. Yeah, with my right hand. Which is, as you see here, all tore up. If you didn't notice this from my previous mentions of it. This is what happens when you overly scratch a bug bite. You just scratch the fuck out of it. When
Holy
you see
crap.
it. Yeah. It's like,
Jesus, Eric. God damn it, dude. No, you're not an animal.
it's
What, you need a cone?
yeah, I need an e-collar. I need one around my neck and one around my hand, obviously, too. Or why don't we just put a boxing glove on my hand and an e-collar just to be safe?
Yeah.
I keep telling people TE is dangerous, but they never listen. It is dangerous. It is dangerous.
Yo, I need a proper TWFP shirt.
Okay, we got some shirts around here. We can make shirts too.
Sweet.
You make your shirt on demand, like your TV from the cable box. Let's see.
Can you make them out of something other than cotton?
The shirts?
Yeah.
We've got multiple different blank shirts.
Okay.
Cute shirt. So I prefer you refer to this as a top. This is a cute top. Okay. If you have to, you can go to blouse, but I prefer top. I think I'm an INFP. My mom gets on my nerves. She always come into my room or she's talking to me, but I always want to be alone. She's in my eyes, not smart, Talks a lot of nonsense. What comprises nonsense talk for your ears, Reginator? Is it talking about what? She talks about a lot about dreams, or about, do you believe in dark magic and stuff? Well, I would agree that sort of talk about, listen, I had a dream, and that means it's an omen, and these things are gonna happen, and astrology and crystals, and aromatherapy most of all. If you really want to unlock your really magical powers, you need to smell some sandalwood. Not just sandalwood. We're going to smell some lavender. We're going to maybe even smell some other smells. But only, listen, this is the difference between other people and me. Other aromatherapists, they might say, here's some lavender flowers, smell them. Instead, what I do, I get the essential oil out of it. So why should you pay me all this money for aromatherapy? The answer is in the name right there. The oil is absolutely essential. And you're not getting any of it through your nose smelling powers right now. So,
hey, some of those oils are really wonderful to smell. You know what? I actually tried lavender honey once. Have you ever had lavender honey?
No, I'm afraid I'm a bit of an aromatherapy neophyte.
Well, that's great because it smells and it tastes like lavender, but it's sweet like honey. It's quite a sensory experience. I don't know.
And so what does that do for your magical parts?
I don't know. Magical things. That's all I know.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Create boundaries and show some respect. Yeah, you scratched your hives too much. I got it on my feet. Create boundaries and show some respect. Here's a boundary. Here's respect. There you go. Now what's next? Fuck your boundary. Fuck your respect. I'm an ESFP.
Yeah, that's what ESFPs are like.
There ain't nothing you can say. There ain't nothing you
I
can
do
do.
what I fucking want to do.
No matter how unreasonable, no matter how unfair, no matter how little sense I make, there ain't nothing you can do to stop me. Because I'm an ESFP. All right? So just get out of my way. I've got some bad ideas, and I've got my full conviction behind them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take these bad ideas, we're going to run with them, we're going to mount them, we're going to fuck the shit out of them. After we've done that for about 6 or 7 months, we're going to go, holy maybe that was a bad idea.
Yeah. And now I'm going to hole up in my apartment and drink 2 bottles of wine every night. And watch Netflix.
Let's see. Sean Tiberius Mononoke. Lavender has a very calming effect. When you stop toxifying yourself with more powerful stimulants, it is very powerful. Oh, I see. So if you don't do real drugs, you can kind of pretend like it's a drug. Well, that must be great for you, Sean. Enjoy your fake drug. Personally, I'm not going to toxify my body with things like lavender or sandalwood, sage, hummus, any of those toxic things. I'm not going to allow into my temple,
Yeah, you're right.
Because fuck that noise. I care about my health. You think?
Yeah, we don't need to just force plant matter into our bodies. I'm gonna see what could possibly be healthy.
Look, I've done a lot of testing in my life with experience, right? So I've tested these extensively for toxicity. It's got to be among the very safest things that it can do. But it's proven because I smoked with packs of them a day for decades, and so they're obviously not toxic. But there are other things in life that I'm not so sure about. Brussels sprouts, for example. I haven't tested them out much, and they taste like shit. Probably toxic, I'm guessing.
Yeah, most vegetables are toxic, especially those green leafy ones that they tell you to eat. I don't even.
What's not toxic? What if I really thoroughly tested?
Yeah.
McDoubles. McDoubles aren't toxic. I was just discussing with Spacey earlier
Right.
that we could eat 6 McDoubles a day and survive perfectly healthy and good on just $300 a month for total food expenditure. That's assuming you get one large Coke out of the 3 meals per day, too. That's a good deal and probably the healthiest thing you could do. Okay, well, what makes you think I'm a quote unquote speed addict? I mean, wouldn't you say that's rather loaded language? Because isn't the point in contention whether or not my behavior is in fact toxic and bad and that your judgment of it is warranted by some external objective reality rather than just your own fucking either snotty resentment of the fact that you can't do it or just projecting of fucking judging us for no reason or something. There's no reason at all, in other words, for you to presume that my actual increased optimality is really non-optimality, which is what you're trying to present here, right? It's bullshit. Plain and simple. I mean, there's nothing more to it. If you look at it closely, you realize it's made entirely of feces, and the source animal is a bull. So, male cow, let's say. What happens if you press the nuclear button? Well, I don't know. It depends which nuclear button it is, I suppose.
Everybody dies.
I'm not sure he has access to that button.
I mean, he does.
He does?
Yeah.
Reginator?
Yeah.
He's the one with his finger on the button? I don't even know who he is. I didn't know he was so powerful, Reginator. Well, I guess the answer is you start nuclear war.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone on taking out a war responsibly? Okay, well, Alexander Hansen, the answer is no, I don't have a regular schedule, but I also am aware of the way that there's a quality of Adderall which is like this. If you get, let's say, 900 milligrams a month, that would be 30 milligrams a day. It's going to be the same total relationship with the drug as if you got 1,800 milligrams a month, because there's this diminishing return effect to it. The only way to stop the diminishing return thing is to go through this little cycle off, but the cycle off is longer than you think it is. So it's like if I go through a run, like I'm on the start of a cycle right now, so I didn't get much sleep last night. I didn't get much sleep the night before. I'm obviously not getting much sleep tonight either because I just got back from getting Tracy from the airport. But I am going to crash here pretty quick, and I haven't taken any Adderall since 9 a.m. 8:45 a.m. this morning, like, which was 17 hours ago or something. So it's not like I'm. You don't have to go crazy for it to nevertheless keep you up a lot. So the thing is, within a few days, the amount of Adderall I'm taking now won't have the normal Adderall effect because I won't have sufficient dopamine stored up from adequate sleep. So the best thing I could do at that point is take a couple days off, more like 3 or 4, to get a full recovery back to the dopamine levels before. I never really do that. I just sort of take a little bit more, and then I'll run out halfway through the month, which is fine because then I'll have a sleepy week. I'll try to set a couple aside here and there, But the thing is, it's like, how do you manage it? Well, for example, my doctor tried to give me a 3-month supply last month, and I told the pharmacist I don't want a 3-month supply. Give me a 1-month supply because I rely on the way the system is structured. I utilize that as part of my own temporal bargaining arrangements, basically. So, I mean, you gotta make choices like that. You gotta say, oh, it does sound nice to have 3 months worth of pills all at once, but I know what's gonna happen if I get that, especially with guests coming into town. We're gonna fucking burn through all that shit, and I'm gonna have like a month and a half where I got no Adderall or something. Fuck that noise. Just give me a month. Like that. Okay. Sean Tiberius Mononoke. You keep using all this loaded language that's completely unwarranted by facts or the tone that we're generally taking about the conversation here. And yet you take vast amounts of speed. So, okay, well, what's a vast amount of speed that you think I take? Well, what would comprise a vast amount versus a small amount? Keep in mind the maximum dosage that could be prescribed by a doctor under normal circumstances, without certain special exceptions or whatever. You could go higher with certain exceptions, but of just Adderall is 90 milligrams a day. You could also have an additional, say, 45 milligrams of Vyvanse or something added on to that. That would be the full prescription dose. Now, that's of that kind of Adderall. If you wanted to go stronger than that, I guess you'd say you'd probably move up to meth, right? Say, well, okay, this person can be reasonably said to take vast amounts of speed because he's smoking meth all day, for example. Okay, so what's the criterion that you're using to say that I take vast amounts of speed? What qualifies as that? And most importantly, Sean, why is it so important to you to portray my modality as inferior and yours as superior? And that's definitely what is
That's a
important.
good question, actually. That is.
What do you? I never banned you.
Yeah.
I never banned you, Sean. I probably put you on timeout. It's not the same thing as banning you. Again, you're really sloppy with your language, right? There's no reason to misrepresent me as somebody who takes vast amounts of speed, or misrepresent my actions as banning you, or misrepresent whatever. What? I mean, Sean, if I say that's a big box and that's a small box, I'm indicating judgment about the boxes, right? So when you say I'm somebody who took vast amounts of speed, you're establishing this is the status I'm assigning to you. It's a judgment. It doesn't mean you're being judgmental in some way. I'm saying it's conveying a judgment. And so far, you've told me that my current behavior is toxifying myself, that I'm a speed addict, that I take vast amounts of speed, and that you prefer your way because I don't know why. But none of those things that you said are meaningfully true, really. And yet you said them anyway. So that's why I'm. Well, you can lie and say you didn't. I didn't ban you. You're here, right? I never banned you. I've never banned anybody, I don't think. I mean, that's not true. In commenters, there's a couple of commenters I've said, hide this guy's comments from the channel. Pretty sure that wasn't you. I mean, I'm definitely not lying. And see, again, you're so fucking sloppy with your language. Well, you can lie and say you didn't. What possible indication would there be that I'm lying when I say I didn't ban you? I might be wrong. I might be mistaken. Does it seem like something I would be openly deceptive about? I mean, do I care that much to lie about it? That's your habits of language are indicative of somebody who's not interested in having meaningful discourse because you're not careful about the words you choose. Okay, which words am I not admitting? You are claiming I was being judgmental outright. So if you're not going to admit to the words you are choosing, there's not much point in having a debate with you about it. Okay. I said you were using very loaded language. Yes, you were being judgmental and still are. You're still determined to sort of assert dominance in some regard, I guess, or win some point here, but you've not responded to my very well articulated and concrete and specific critiques of your loaded language. So if you want to shift ground to critiquing me, then you're not responding to anything I'm saying, and silence equals assent. And you can put on as much FE fluffery as you want. It's not going to do you any good. Claiming you didn't do something when you did is still a lie, even if you do not recall having done it. As far as I know, I've never banned you. I don't think I've ever banned anybody. I don't doubt that I put you on timeout or something like that. I don't even know what it means to ban somebody. What button would I push to ban you? Can you explain that to me? Or does it not matter to you that the words you're using are the wrong words, I guess? I'm not going to accuse you of lying as you accused me of, even though you're saying being wrong and actively deceiving somebody are the same thing, which is clearly not true. So, I mean, you don't care about whether what you're saying is true or meaningful or obvious or not, or clear or not, or, you gotta step it up and actually engage in meaningful discourse. That is to say, don't just throw out a bunch of fucking half-assed attacks that are just paper thin. Do some work, Sean, even if it were the case that I'm addicted to speed, there's no reason to conclude that being addicted to speed makes somebody judgmental. In fact, between the two of us, I'm not saying my way of living is necessarily better than yours, right? But you are saying my way of living is necessarily toxic and it represents addiction and that I take vast amounts of speed. But you haven't responded to these specific points I've made. You've run away from them. So, Sean Tiberius Mononoke, even if I did ban you at some point, I don't know what that means exactly to ban you. That's not one of the options I have here. But if I were to ban you, it probably would be because you've got some bad communication habits that you need to fix badly. You're projecting a lot. You're saying shit that doesn't hold any water, and you're ignoring what I'm saying and not being responsive, and just general fucking unacceptable behavior, frankly. But no, I didn't ban you. As far as I know, that's not even an option I have. So, okay. Alexander Hansen says, Sean, who cares how he chooses to use his meds if he feels like it works for him? Doctors don't have access to his phenomenological experience, so ultimately only Eric can say what works best for him. Correct. Sinjin says, I admit I'm starting to be a little bored at the moment. Well, Sinjin, I'm going to do my best to be more entertaining. Spacey, you need to go to bed right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got to find a place for Spacey to sleep here because he is now 3:15 in the morning. And I need to... Okay, well, fuck. What am I going to do here? So I guess I'm going to put you in the FJ for right now, but I'm going to have to get you some blankets or shit like that.
Whatever. I don't even need blankets at this point. I'll fucking crash in a minute.
You just sort of like rest here for about half an hour. Then I'll get you set up, and then when it's all set up for you, I'll say, okay, now move yourself over here. All right? All right. So, anyway. Oh, fuck. What did I knock over? Oh, it was just your soul. Thank God.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Um. So, anyway, life theory. Yeah, I was asked by a commenter what my life theory was. That's what prompted me to make this title of this video. Like, do you have a life theory? I guess that if I had to come up with a life theory of sorts, it would be something along the lines of humility, I guess. Like, work towards actual intellectual humility, where you realize that we're always going to be most comfortable sitting in our own wheelhouse, whatever that is. And if you're an intuitive type, there's going to be a certain intellectual arrogance that is implicit to the type that you have to sort of outgrow. And the reason you kind of have to outgrow and it's difficult to outgrow is because to a large extent it's warranted. It's justified for people who are very effective at being intuitives about ideas. They're going to note a pretty obvious and striking distinction between themselves and the vast majority of people they encounter in some regard. Now, other people probably have the same experience, but because of the way society values quote unquote being smart, and because of the way society conflates sounding smart and being smart, although it's not entirely a conflation, I mean, to a certain extent, they are kind of the same thing, but only in some frames, well, then there's certain, arrogance is going to follow because whatever you're genuinely better at than the vast majority of the people, you're going to have a certain confidence that is comfortable that might be perceived as arrogance from a FE perspective. So, yeah. I think that the general life theory I would have is humility because it seems like the safest and best meta frame of sorts. But maybe third slot FE talking. I don't think that's necessarily a universal life theory for everybody. It's just maybe describing my own experience of ideation in existence. Okay. A parent as a supervisor. Possible consequences later in life, like not measuring up or something. Yeah, I would say that seems very possible. I had a benefactor as a parent. My dad is ESTJ, and I still feel as though kind of like he'll never really respect me. It's okay. It's not a big deal or whatever. Because in some sense, it's like I'll never really respect him either. Like, just because we think differently. Because he's a TE Dom, I'm a TI tool user. He's always shaking his head at my reasoning, and I'm kind of always shaking my head at his. But that's just how life goes. I struggle with jealousy. No, not really. Not anymore. You're talking about like art jealousy. I used to. I used to be like, how is this fucking garbage popular and my great stuff is nobody likes it? It's so unfair. But I'm not really like that anymore. And the reason is because I see what I'm doing as trying to get the best version of the me that's revealed by these things that I'm doing that I can make manifest as possible. And not that I'm trying to be better than other people. So, and that's not meaningful because it's like I don't want to make the videos that are the best videos for people who are really into wind sailing and, getting out there and just fucking yar. If I were to make videos that were popular with those kind of people, they wouldn't be videos I'd enjoy making. It would just purely be work. And if I were to do a bunch of demographic analysis and go, okay, well, these are the videos that'll make me successful. Unless I could establish some quick path to go from, okay, Eric, if you apply yourself to this way you don't want to do it for 3 weeks, you'll go from 5,000 subscribers to 50,000 subscribers. Okay, fine. I could probably apply myself then in that context. But yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Probably think about your judgments as diagnostics or prognostics because of some self-proclaimed expertise. Those are still judgments, though. Oh, no. This isn't a grade. This is simply an evaluatory status that I'm assigning. Big difference. How strong is TINI and INFP? Could they mistype themselves as INTP if they were less mushy and thin-skinned than most FIUs? Possibly. I think the type that's likely to be most resistant to finally agreeing on a single type for themselves is INTP. INTP, they'll call themselves INTP for like 3 years. Then they'll go through a brief phase when they think they're INTJ again. And then they'll go back to INTP for a while. And then they'll be like, I'm not really sure. Why not? Well, because I'm able to think of every possible thing that could be interpreted to be contraindicative of INTP. And since, there are several that could so be interpreted were I to afford them all the requisite assumptions that they need to be so interpreted, well, then I might not be an INTP. And it's like, it's part of the problem of not having SE. SE wants a final decision to be made about shit because it's going to act upon it. But INTPs, they operate in a frame that assumes you never have to actually act upon shit. You're just potentiating out and deliberating. And when you do come to a conclusion, it's a conclusion, not a decision. But real INFPs, they tend to know their INFPs, I think. More so than INTPs do. I don't know. It's a tricky question. I have trouble answering INFP questions because the ones I'm encountering usually when I'm typing people are ones that either are interested in typology and want to verify what they think or want to ask questions really about their type or something like that. Or somebody else paid for them to do it. And then it's like they're coming in kind of like, well, I don't know. I go, well, you're this thing called INFP. I go, okay. And then they, I guess, sit around and think about it on their own later and feel about it. And who knows? Okay, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women? Or what's my other option? Because that's all choice A, Reginator. Choice A is to crush the enemy, see them driven before me, and hear the lamentation of the women. So that's choice A. So what's choice B? STM, are you in a bit of a combative mood this evening? You're just going to ask a bunch of questions to sort of position yourself as above the fray. And then when people respond, you go, interesting. oh shit, Sean's obviously in a position to evaluate us in some regard, so he must know better. He's acting like that anyway. I mean, it's funny you call it Sinjin. Of course, you're right about the FE thing, and I appreciate your noting it. Thank you for noting it. That you say here, you're not a doctor. Everything you have to say publicly about his health and lifestyle is a judgment, and it's very basic or very obvious breach of FE. But my issue with it, and I agree with it, it's what it is, but that doesn't really bother me. It's a breach of TI. It's saying I can take these sort of common knowledge, urban legend, freaking demonization narratives, right? Like, okay, good. We're all in agreement, right? This nuanced thing is not nuanced and it's totally bad. Everybody agrees, right? We put a bunch of signs and shit, public service announcements. No nuance here. Drugs. Well, I mean, if you want to have a not nuanced understanding of it, then it's not going to withstand TI scrutiny. And that's the problem with it, is when you're engaging in discourse like this, Sean, you're not making position statements you can sustain. You're not actually sustaining them, even if you can. And most importantly, and this is the troubling thing, you don't respond to what I say. So I point out several specific examples of quote unquote judgmentalism or judgment or whatever. And you persisted in just saying that you weren't judgmental. And you never addressed the 3 examples I gave, any of them, or said, okay, well, those examples you gave did establish, yeah, but they didn't establish, yeah. You didn't do any work, right? It's like you just do work theater. You do argumentation theater. And that's the thing that's annoying. It offends my TI. It's like, you're not saying anything. Stop pretending like you're saying shit, It's frustrating because a lot of people will be kind of swayed by that kind of FE bullshit in other contexts. Definitely not here. It doesn't have a chance here, frankly. It's just not deft enough. If it were deft enough, then you'd no longer need to try to do that. You'd no longer feel the need to try to do the thing you're trying to do. So it's kind of a catch-22, I guess, or some variant on that notion. See, look at this thing. Eric, everyone knows you're an addict. We don't have to establish that. Well, I personally self-identify as addicted to cigarettes because they meet a definitional criterion that's meaningful. You don't have such a criterion. And the only reason you're saying I'm addicted or an addict is because it's reductive to me and diminishing. And that, I mean, if you want to warrant your claims with statements like, everybody knows you're an addict, well, it's not the case that everybody knows I'm an addict. And even if it were the case that everybody knew I was an addict, they'd have different conceptions of what that meant. Some people might think, well, he's addicted to cigarettes. He says he is. He says the reason he thinks he's addicted to cigarettes is because he literally can't go a stretch of time without feeling very discomfited by it, right? Actual withdrawal symptoms. But he also says he's not addicted by that definition to anything else. Even when he was a drunk, he wasn't addicted to alcohol by that definition. So, no, I was never addicted to meth by that definition either. And I'm not addicted to cannabis by that definition either. But see, Sean, this is the problem. What are you not addressing? What are you not addressing? You're not addressing the fact that I gave you a definition, and by my definition, only one of those things qualifies as me being addicted to it. Now, you can provide a counter definition, But I've noted there's a real distinction in my own experience in my life between my relationship with cigarettes and these other substances. So if you want to say that this is a false distinction I'm making, well, you need to make some argumentation to support that. Okay, Sean, I am judging you. I'm judging your very poor argumentation and bad discourse. That's what I'm judging. I'm judging the fact that you don't respond to what I'm saying. I'm judging the fact that you use a lot of loaded language for no reason. So I am judging that stuff, but I'm judging your behavior, your discursive behavior. Whereas you're making claims about my ontology. You're saying I'm an addict, but I've only agreed that I'm an addict about this. So I'm willing to admit I'm wrong, that you're right, I'm addicted to those other things, but that would require you to, again, do some argumentational work. And thus far, you've not shown yourself capable of that, or willing, one of the two. You're just like in a salty mood, and you're just sort of trying to assert dominance, and it won't work because you have to actually do the work. Theater won't do it. The problem is the things we're lifting and moving here are actually have heft and weight to them in mass. Okay, if we were only doing the lifting on prop objects like a prop rock that's made out of styrofoam, fine, but you think that you can just sort of pantomime moving the heavy stones and they'll just sort of that's as good as moving them, but it's not. You have to actually you gotta show your work, so to speak. So that's the thing, right? What Alexander Hansen says here is worth noting. If Eric was a full-blown speed addict, he wouldn't be cool with abstaining for a week plus after running out of his meds early. I'm not just cool with it; it's intentional and willful. As I get near the end of my supply, I kind of go, I just take those last, 4 of them or whatever they got here, 40 milligrams or something. Take the last of them right now, all together, because I don't even want to. I want to get on a sleepy week right now. It's too diminishing returns at this point, and I'm getting cranky. I'm getting grumpy or whatever. Because you can go for a little while getting less sleep than normal, but it catches up to you after a bit, and you get cranky. So, I mean, I've got similar routines with other things too that I go into little cycles with, like my email. There's a period of time where I'll put a handle on and deal with all my email, blah, blah, blah. And I go a period of time where I avoid it. Does that make me an email addict? Or what's your, it's like, you gotta have some criterion that we can apply as a general principle or rule, or else you're just arbitrarily slinging mud. And thus far, you've not provided any criterion. Now, what I just did was provide a criterion, which says if you don't provide a criterion, you're just slinging mud. So, you've got a choice. You have plenty of opportunity to respond to things I've said. You've ignored them. You have plenty of opportunity to provide an actual criterion, an actual definition. You've ignored it. You squandered it, so to speak. So at this point, the working conclusion is you're just slinging mud. And if you want any other conclusion to be drawn, you have to do the work. You will not discover that I'm doing your work for you. You have to do that yourself, or else you're just wasting everybody's time. What possible adverse consequences could your addictions have? Well, let's just say, to make this an easier question to answer, what possible adverse consequences could my habitual consuming behaviors have? Because I definitely have habituated consuming behaviors, which includes cigarettes, includes coffee. I drink a lot of coffee every day. Drink a lot of Coca-Cola. I like McDonald's Coke especially. So what about those things? Well, everybody has behavioral patterns, right? And it's this intense need for some people to have definitive stigmatizable like shit that causes people to go, well, drugs are always bad, something like that. It's stupid, but people do it. Can it have adverse consequences? I mean, it's difficult to isolate these things like that. Obviously, it's not healthy to go full blast in terms of indulgence with, like, especially with drugs and alcohol, right? It's hard on the body. It's gonna wear you out and it's gonna break you down over time. It's gonna make you age a little faster, shit like that. But what possible consequences could addictions have besides health is another question. Like, when I was when I was drinking alcohol, and that was a substance that I could not consume, I could not trust myself to consume with willfulness, basically. That one of the effects of that drug was to undermine my own willful decision-making power about that drug. So it was, it was no way for me to beat it in that regard. And I had to let that one go. But it wasn't because I was making me physically unhealthy. It was because it was making me spiritually unhealthy. I had become a drunk. I was either at work or I was drinking. And my soul was dying. And I felt despair that I barely can even recall now. And I wake up every morning and have this litany of verbal self-abuse and other things like that came with waking up hungover and not really remembering the night before every morning. So that's the real harm. You can know whether the drugs you're doing are sustainable and part of a overall balanced ontology or not. And the way you can tell that is, I guess, your introverted feelings. You go, am I sad right now? And if the answer is yes, then it's a problem. Drugs are a problem. Then they're making you sad, or they're making you feel out of control, or whatever. Then you need to adjust those things. And I think probably it's the case for most people that, as it is for me, that they have an entirely distinct relationship with each drug. That every drug, you have your own relationship with it that's unique to you and that drug. It doesn't carry over to any other drugs. My relationship with alcohol is very different than my relationship with cigarettes. Is very different than my relationship with marijuana. It's very different than my relationship with Coca-Cola, which you could also call a drug. I mean, marijuana certainly isn't an intoxicant in any means of sense. Okay, but see, Sean, listen, your thorny language notwithstanding, the fact is, you're a penguin. You are. I won't tell you what criterion I'm using to determine that you're a penguin, but you're definitely a penguin. And don't fucking ask me any questions about it. You're just projecting your own penguin insecurity onto me. I'm tired of it. You're so obviously reaching. Now, Sean, what you ought to say at that point is either give me some sense of what it means to be a penguin or stop telling me I am one. Because either you know what a penguin means, in which case you'd be happy to explain it to me because you mean something when you use the word, or you're just swinging it around like a dead fish, not really sure what it's for, not really sure what it means, not really sure why you're saying it, but expecting everybody to jump up and down and clap their hands. Well, sorry, sport, but I don't do that for people. If you want to actually engage me, actually engage me. I'm happy to actually engage you. But It's a two-way street. Just as I'm responding to you means you'll have to actually respond to me. So I've made some very good and reasonable points here, not abusive or illogical in any way. And your response to it was, yeah, I don't feel the need to develop argumentation against your retarded claims. I'm not making a claim. I'm asking you to explain your claim. Your claim is that I'm an addict of speed, addicted to speed. So I'm asking you to explain what that means. If you have some criterion that we can distinguish between that which is an addiction from that which is merely a habit or indulgence or something like that, the only core and central point of the thing we're talking about that matters. And even though it's clearly the central and only thing that really matters in this discussion, you claim that my asking you a question to clarify for me what you mean is itself a retarded claim. So at this point, you're just either delusional, just purely expressing your frustration, or just spiteful or something, because obviously your words mean nothing and you're not listening to the thing I say. You're just, I don't know, stomping your feet and pissing in your own mouth. I don't know what you're doing, but you're not using human words to do word things, right? You're getting your grossness. It's just sort of like you're oozing discharge all over the place. It's like, oh my God, please, can you go put a bandage on your pus before you get it all over us? Because that's all these words are. Just a great seepage of pus, of metaphysical pus. You don't want to be known as the metaphysical pus guy, Sean. So seriously, straighten up the discourse a bit. There's no reason to act like this. Why do you? It's not working. I'm not acting like that. You're addicted to not being addicted to martial arts. What can you do? Okay, well, we're going to begin a habituating regimen of drug intake. I want you to begin with smoking 3 bong hits in the AM, 2 bong hits in the early PM, 3 again in the late PM, okay? We're going to start with that regimen. I want you to do that for 4 weeks. Now, once you become addicted to the marijuana, you'll discover that if you go without it for more than about 12 or 14 hours, you'll get incredibly sick. You're going to feel like you're going to die, okay? You might die if you don't have some sort of bridge drug to help you get past your marijuana addiction. Marijuana addiction is one of the most life-threatening of all the addictions because, what with it not existing at all and that being a crazy idea and everything, it's really, really, it's juicy that way, Yeah. Addicted to not being addicted. The problem a lot of us have, that's how I am with almost everything. It's like, Jesus. Okay, I'm not addicted to feeding the fish. I do feed them every day. Sometimes twice a day. Sometimes I really get into it. I'm going to feed them a third time. But I still don't think it qualifies as an addiction yet. Because when I don't feed the fish, I don't feel anything, not even guilty. I just go, I guess I didn't feed the fish yesterday. Huh? I should feed them. Probably ate some bugs or something, I guess. Alexander Hanson, you clearly wouldn't be so upset about it if you weren't addicted to pissing in your mouth all the time. It's a good point, Alexander. Well stated. Okay, so is that what this is really about, Sean? You want help? Mouth Pissers Anonymous is here for you. The first step is to admit that you have a problem, and that the problem is that too frequently your mouth is filled with your own piss. Admit that problem first. If you want to conquer it, you got to say, okay, look, a lot of people have been telling me that when I talk to them, it's like they're sticking their face in a urinal. And so I maybe need to address this. Number two, my life has become unmanageable. Look, the other day, Sean, when you went in to ask your boss for a raise and ended up spitting urine in his face, that's what it means when they say it became unmanageable. At this point, you really, really, really need to stop pissing in your own mouth. Okay, number three is you got to, I forget, what is step three? Turn your will and your life over to a higher power of your own choosing. You can make up any power you want. You could go with telekinesis. You could go with invisibility. You go for super strength. You go with laser eyes. Turn your will and your life over to laser eyes. Okay. Once you do that, you'll stop pissing in your own mouth so much. Hopefully. If you relapse, it's okay. Just please spit it out. Don't swallow it. That's an old wives' tale that swallowing your own urine makes you live a long time. Don't believe it for a second. Okay, I think it's time for boners. Did somebody say it was time for boners? I believe so. I believe it was Sean. He was telling me that my TC levels were getting low, desperately in need of a fix, or else I'd probably go on a killing spree. Eric, what are you doing? Sorry, I'm going on a killing spree. Why? I ran out of weed. Do you have to murder all those people? Well, I mean, I just raped some of them. I didn't kill all those ladies over there. I just raped them. Like I told you to get more weed yesterday. Well, I was gonna, but then I was watching this one TV show, and before I knew it, the marijuana withdrawal symptoms had kicked in. And out I went with my Uzi, my rape kit, my rope and my duct tape and everything, and whew, a lot of suffering I induced there today. It's a good day's work. I'd say I induced the suffering of 3 full-grown men working full-time over the course of 6 weeks in one day. I'm like, kind of like Genghis Khan. Let's see. Comfort bubble. Chew bubble gum. Everybody needs a comfort bubble. Everybody needs some gorgeous pudding. Everybody needs a moist wrapper upon their face. What is that? What's going on? Who's banging on what and why? I gotta go see what's going on. I'll be right back. Hold on a second. Somebody's banging on something. I wonder why. You and me both, Sinjin. Alright, I gotta see what the fuck's going on out there. Okay, well, that's good news. It's just the trashy neighbors. They just got home. She's drunk. She can't find her house key. And they just broke the window. By accident. They were trying to knock on it, I think. And they broke the window. So, there you go. Spacey came with his own personal poltergeist. No, it's the Basura family next door. truly, truly awful people. It's like kids are screaming. These freaking kids that want to go just be like, okay, little girl, you are the single worst child I've ever encountered. Everything you say is like, she's like constantly, right? I just want to tell her, listen, little child, I don't even care that you're a kid. You're fucking awful. And then I want to tell the parents, you already broke that one. She's just completely ruined for life now. She's just a fucking absolute horrible fucking nightmare. And the little boy, you guys are all you're doing your fucking best to turn him into more trash like you, but you still got a chance for you guys gotta fucking learn how to communicate. They just always scream at each other. It's like, pick up your fucking toys, Eric. Here's the boy's name's Eric. Yeah. Hey, bitch, you got it wrong. You gotta pick up your fucking. I gotta fucking told you what the. Kid's like 6 years old, you know. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. There's no capacity to solve any kind of conflict through language usage. It's just, they just use language to punch at each other with it. And every once in a while, when it gets too much to bear from working in the backyard and the noise, I just go, will you please be quiet? And the kids will go, sorry. And they'll quiet down a bit. Let's see what Fate Wind says. Hi, Fate. Can you talk about your mentor? I want to hear about your mentors. Maybe who mentored me? Well, I mean, I really think of one person as mentoring me more than any other, but they mentored me in teaching. Mr. Samuelson, who gave me a job teaching English when the only experience I had on my resume was teaching special ed, which is not teaching. It's more like caregiving. But he gave me a job there, and I didn't really, I had sort of a Dunning-Kruger effect about teaching, I guess. I didn't understand that, and a lot of people don't, that whatever it is you are teaching is a skill that's distinct from subject matter that you know. Like, I could teach anything that I could learn faster than the kids, basically, because I know how to teach, which is different than knowing any subject matter. So that's an example of something where I was mentored. Mr. Sanderson showed me how to do classroom control. He was very much a stickler for detail. He insisted I always write cursive on the board. He insisted the students always use a ruler to draw their lines for their sentence diagrams, and label every part of speech, and he had all these little rules, everybody had to be following those. So I learned a lot about the value of regimented activities, basically. Like, if I need to kill 45 minutes, I can do, easy enough by a grammar assignment where the purpose of it really is to get the kids to follow the instructions and be super neat by making more specific, ridiculous little demands. Like, and you always have to use a ruler, and things used with this red color need to be red pencil only, and then when they give it to you and then I haven't listened to your instructions, you fucking tear it up and do it again. It's like I learned how to teach in that kind of environment, which was great for me. I'm not that kind of teacher, but I'm very glad I learned how to be that kind of teacher first, because I can move away from that. He was a great mentor in that regard. And, he gave me a come to Jesus moment, because for a while at the beginning of the job, I was sort of like resisting him. I was like thinking it through a lot and thinking, well, what's the optimal way for this to be done? Just going in with this arrogant assumption that regardless of his experience level or success or anything, that obviously I knew best about this, because, well, I'm the one thinking about it, so I must know best about it. That's pure Dunning-Kruger shit. It's like, yeah, Eric, you're quick at picking shit up, or you're clever, or whatever. One of the things you're gonna have to pick up here is the reality that there's no substitute for experience, even for people who aren't SI users. When you do something that's extremely complicated as a skill set, or deep as a skill set, complex, nuanced, interwoven, like teaching, you'll always be better in 20 years than you were at the beginning, provided you're trying to get better, provided you care. You know, the problem with public schools, and most teachers are in public schools, is they don't actually they don't want the teachers to do a good job. They want the teachers to follow certain protocols, and those protocols actually generally prevent the teachers from doing a good job, because teachers, like anybody else, are human and have a limited amount of energy to direct towards their work. For me, I always found that completing a pointless task that I had to complete because it was assigned was energy sapping, dramatically energy sapping. Like, I don't even want to do anything now because I have to do the stupid thing that I don't see the point of. Okay, let's see. Okay, can't stand people who swear at kids. Gotta go sleep. Bye bye. Okay, bye bye. Oh yeah, I got Sinjin as my mentor too. Here's how Dunning-Kruger I am about his mentorship right now. Most of the time, I'm not even aware I'm on the astral plane. I think I'm on the regular plane, and he goes, Eric, look, no, don't look directly at it, or it'll go away. But out of the corner of your eye, see that? That's the astral plane. And I go, oh, and I go, I forget the next time I'm over there. Like, where was it again? In Chicago? I don't know. I'm thinking about deep dish pizza. Are you depressed this morning? No. I'm not depressed. Is it morning? It is 4 a.m. I haven't gone to bed yet. You already are Fitwind. You've participated in Talking with Famous People live stream that makes you a famous person. Eric, do you wear things like a Rolex, Off-White, Balenciaga, Gucci and stuff? I don't think so. I have this Timex watch, and I have this sport coat because it was the first jacket I saw when I was leaving the house. I don't have any Gucci stuff. I don't know what Balenciaga is. Off-White is a color, isn't it? I mean, is that a brand? Off-White? Or is that like a style that's in wearing off-white shit? This is the Gucci gang. Well, speaking of gangs, I want to talk to you guys about this gang that I've been, is in the local hood down there in the ghetto. I've integrated myself into their organization in order to make documentary films about them. And I just want to share some of my exciting stories. So, for example, like any gang, they jump you in when you get initiated. And they have this ceremony after the next day after you've been jumped in. You come back, you're all bruised and beat up, but you're happy because you're in the gang, And you come in and your name's like Jesus Alvarado or whatever. But what they do after the jump in, they have a ceremony where they change you to your gang name, which is your gang name for life. And what I was surprised was how those negotiations went down. It's like one of the guys that got jumped in, and he was telling the main dude, he's like, I really want a tough gang name. Give me something fucking badass, dog. And the main dude is like, all right. How about apple butter crepes? And the guy who just got jumped in, he wasn't happy about it. He said, I think the other gang members are gonna laugh at me if you call me apple butter crepes. And the leader said, well, listen, apple butter crepes is a tough name. I mean, it's like it's even tougher than asparagus. Asparagus is one of our toughest gang members. But yeah, here's the thing about that. So the other guy. He's like, but from what I understand, asparagus didn't want that name as his gang name. He said he wanted something tough too. He said he wanted shark or laugh now, cry later. Instead, he got asparagus. So I guess the gang leader guy started getting really mad. And he's like, piping hot, chicken pot pie, asparagus. Get your asses over here. We gotta do some gang stuff. Asperger's? No, asparagus. Good question though. It is true that of all the vegetables, the one that's most likely to be diagnosed as Asperger's is asparagus. I mean, it's a bit of a stereotype, but it's a stereotype for a reason. You know what I have. When you have a conversation with asparagus, it's awkward. It's like it just looks right through you, doesn't listen to you, doesn't answer, doesn't say anything at all. It's like, fuck, that's some polar FE. You take your daughter to ESP. I watched a few videos her and got ENTP, where you see SE value in her. She seems more heady over physical. Oh, Fate Wind, you've tapped into a little bit of a secret here. Secret is I'm reserving a certain amount of judgment, and I think it's possible she might be an ESP as well. But the main reason why I decided to choose ESP is because of hanging out with Becky. And it kind of drew into stark contrast. Like, oh, I see the difference here. It's like, and I get why Delilah, I always felt like Delilah didn't roll downhill like I did, or like Becky does, So if I want to play any with Becky, I could just stand next to her for a while and she'll start playing any and I can just join her game. Or I could go like this. There's a slight touch to a rock and it'll immediately start rolling downhill and continue rolling downhill basically indefinitely. And I always had this experience with Delilah where it's like I start some sort of ideational chain. But unlike Becky, she didn't have that downhill inertia. She'll roll to a stop. I kind of had this experience as raising her. Like, okay, now you take on the main sort of and this kind of shit, right? Hey, Kimmy.
You're talking to yourself?
No, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to Fate Wind.
So you didn't find the keys to the car?
I never did.
Just decide to leave the car out there and get a ticket?
Well, Kimmy, here's the thing. I actually looked quite hard for the key. I asked you about it. I looked in your purse. You didn't have any assistance to offer, which is fine. But as a consequence, you kind of don't get to come out and blame me for not pulling it in either. Because I mean, certainly I made a lot more of an effort to bring the car in than you did.
I was drunk. I had been drinking all night.
Kimmy.
You know that.
Kimmy, I'm not trying to blame you. That's the difference between us. You're trying to blame me. I'm not doing that to you.
Okay, you're talking to me. You don't need to look at them when you're... So a ticket last week, a ticket this week. Because you wouldn't go down and get a parking spot. However, you're the only one that's not drunk tonight.
Because I wouldn't get a parking pass, meaning I should have, after I got here, couldn't find the key. I should have then gone and gotten the parking pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, I agree that would have been a good decision. Sure.
Why are you staring at them like it's a
Kimmy,
mirror over there?
So now you're just gonna walk away?
Well, I'm upset that you,
No,
you
okay,
don't
but
even like say to me, "Hey, I'm gonna get a ticket."
I mean, you're just being
I'm upset.
you're being very unpleasant and not taking any sort of sense of thinking about things at all. Well, I mean, I'm not disallowing the possibility that she's the HP. I also realized that something she said to me on a number of occasions, and maybe more significant than Kim has just been in a pissy mood all evening. She's in that state of being where it really doesn't matter what's going on in the external world. If the car had been pulled in, she'd find something else to strangely blame me for. Like, I don't know. I don't know what she gets out of that, right? She doesn't listen to me at all. If I say, "Hold on, Kim, this, you want to work towards common ground here, or you just want to shit on me somewhere?" She just wants to shit on me. So I'm learning to respond properly to it, which is just to basically say, when you're ready to be decent, come back and talk to me. Until then, just chew along. Of course, if you think about it in a large frame, right? So I was very tired about 9:30, 10, but I had to, tough it out, wait till 10:30, drive all the way to LAX. Left about 10:30. Actually picked up Spacey about 1 in the morning because his plane landed at midnight, but he didn't actually get out on the curb until almost 1 in the morning. Freaking taxi for 20 minutes, and then I drove all the way back here. Once I got back here, I pulled the FJ in, and I spent a long time looking for the key to pull the Mini in. I asked Kimberly where her keys were. She said, "Look at my purse." I already did look at my purse, they're not in there. And she just didn't give me any more information. And I went around the house and the garage with this flashlight looking for the fucking key. Couldn't find it. And, I got Spacey just arrived here and you get him sort of settled in a bit. And, so I'm doing all of this stuff, right? So she comes out and yells at me for leaving the Mini out. Completely oblivious to the fact that she didn't drive to the airport to get Becky or back here to bring her back. She didn't drive to the airport to get Spacey or back here to bring her back. She didn't pull any of the cars in. She didn't do anything to get Spacey set up. Not that I've done much yet, but at least I made sure he had company in here in Bungers to pull, and her reasoning was, I was drunk and you knew that. Okay, it's like, listen, Eric, I was totally useless yesterday. So the fact that you were incompletely or imperfectly useful is very worthy of condemnation. What? What? No. Yeah, we do fight. We do fight occasionally. The thing is, our fights should be easy squeezy, and they're getting easier. But the problem is, Kimberly never really learned in childhood good communication habits. She didn't live in a family that was like mine, where everybody was fair and decent to each other. Everybody abused each other in her family, and so she thinks conceding anything means giving me power that I'm going to use against her, which is not the case at all. It just means actually being a decent human being is to share power with your partner and concede and expect your partner to concede and you concede as well, and find common ground. But she's never used that discursive process to resolve problems. So she's having to learn it now at 50 years old. And, when she comes in and full shit like that, it's just, she doesn't think it really matters. It's just words. I keep explaining to her, Kimberly, you've got to you got to act as though you know your partner. I told you a million times what matters and what doesn't matter to me. And if you care about me, you need to prioritize those frames when interacting with me to some extent, or at least acknowledge them. I mean, Kim's she's just in a bad mood tonight or something. She doesn't like, it's like, that's the thing I don't get. What is it she's trying to get out of that exchange? Like, she's mad. Okay, so what would she like me to do? Be like, oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Oh, I'm a little bitch. I don't think she wants that from me. She's not going to get whatever it is she does want. She's just going to get my contempt and disgust because it's so ridiculously unaware of the larger picture. When she treats me with contempt and disgust, she's going to get it right back. So it's not working for her. And if she's decent, I'm by default trusting and decent. She's got trust issues, She thinks it's necessary to attack me because the card getting pulled in. It's an indication both of her fucked up past and her weak ass NE. Obviously, it's gonna get turned on her because she didn't do shit. I did most of everything, and she did absolutely nothing. So her busting my chops with the one thing I didn't do because I couldn't, because she wouldn't tell me where her keys were, and I couldn't find that key. It's gonna get turned on her. Now tomorrow she's gonna have to hear this little conversation where I go, okay, so what was wrong with what happened last night, Kimberly? She's not going to want to have that conversation, but it's important to me that we resolve these things so I don't get resentful. And I've had to explain that to her as well. She fucking hates it. I mean, she just hates resolving anything because, or at least she hates. I think she's starting to realize, wow, it's a lot easier when I just agree with them. I don't care if she's being honest, if she agrees. Like, she's at least showing her willingness. If she's disagreeing, then she's got to justify her disagreeing with actual arguments. But if she agrees, then and she goes, I agree. I don't get this. I don't understand. I trust you. That's fine. That's totally fine. But she doesn't trust me because she doesn't trust anybody. And that's one of the things we're working on. She should trust me because I have our best interests in mind, and I know what it's like to have. I know what healthy relationships look like. I know what decent communication looks like, and I know what actually being a teammate means. Yes, I could win every argument, but the difference between me and an unhealthy ENTP, I guess, is that I want all of our arguments to be win-win with my partner. I don't want any win-loss arguments. If I can avoid them, if I have to extract a loss from her, I'll always offer a concession to go along with it. Try to make things even, But if there's no reciprocity in that process, well, that's not just a different style of interactions. I mean, that's damage. In other words, her behavior is unhealthy. Her communication behavior is unhealthy, and she needs to change it. And it's easy enough to change, actually, when I'm not mad about it. When I get mad about her persistent bad behavior, because it took me a long time to realize what all this shit was and what was really going on and everything. And also realize that it mattered a lot to me. Like, hey, you know what? I'm not okay with being treated like this. I'm not okay with you talking to me like this. And it took me a long time to realize that I wasn't okay with it. So, we're working on it. We're good. Cameron and I aren't going anywhere. We're not splitting up. I see it as a 0% chance. But, she's very fretful and she's got such a poor sense of time. It's like if we have 2 good days in a row, she is, in her mind, things have been going really great for the last 3 months. If we have 2 bad days in a row, she'll be like, you are being so frustrated with me for the last 6 months or so. It's been 2 fucking days. It's not anywhere close to 6 months. With role function NI, ISFJs usually hate coming to a conclusion to a dispute. Another strategy to use is to just tell them they're right and move on. No. I'm not going to do that. That's where she needs to grow. She needs to respect the fact and understand the fact that my being right is in the frame of our mutual interest, which is to say, if I'm having to insist to her that I'm right, it's because in this instance, it's important she needs to acknowledge that, and there's something we're trying to get accomplished here. If it's not something that matters, I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to argue with her about it. I don't believe in that. ISFJ with third SI and vulnerable to E just hate being told they're wrong. Well, sure, but how they express hating being told they're wrong can be either healthy or unhealthy. There's plenty of healthy ways to hate being told you're wrong and avoid being told you're wrong. And those are ways that are, own your own discomfort, where you go, I don't like to talk about this sort of thing. I don't want to talk about it. Well, can you agree with me that, they go, fine, just drop it. See, that's why they need to be with ENTP, because ENTP is okay with fine, just drop it. You never have to justify why you agree with me. You only have to justify why you disagree with me. And so, just agreeing with me is just an indication that you're willing to defer this matter over to me because you're not willing to defend your position on it. The problem is the unhealthy way of doing that is to attack your partner. So that's what Kimberly has a long history of doing in life, and is being gradually sort of broken of this in this relationship, which is if she's uncomfortable in some way, as she was when she woke up and she realized the car's still out there, then she's going to attack me. She could resolve her discomfort much more effectively if she actually cared about resolving her discomfort, which is to say she could come out here and sweet talk me into working harder, finding the key and moving the car. And that would probably be effective because I'm not very strongly certain of what it is I want to do exactly at any given moment. So when Kimberly has clearly expressed wants of things she'd like to have done, I'm usually more than happy to do them, provided I get what I'm supposed to get in my end of the deal, which is a lot of good job, Eric, and pats on the back and a positive affirmation and appreciation of it. But Kimberly's FE is very different when dealing with me than when dealing with other people. And she doesn't seem to get that I keep fulfilling my end of the bargain and she's basically not fulfilling hers. Like when you've got me to do the fucking 3-hour long project because you mentioned what you thought would just be nothing, like, well, we could just hang this little gate right here. I'm not aware, of course, of any idea of what's involved in the process, and me going, okay, fuck, here's another 4-hour project. That's fine. I'm not really doing that right now. Okay, let's just start. At the end of those 3 hours or 4 hours, and I'm done. I go, look, hey, Kim, I don't want to hear, it's kind of like leaning here a little bit, maybe, or I don't know. You better fucking give me the FE, blow smoke up my ass properly. That's all I need in response to that is a little bit of smoke blowing. If you won't do that and you're an ISFJ, that's an indication of unhealth, right? There's damage there because she's never learned to love somebody properly. Frankly, she doesn't know what it means to genuinely love somebody, which means to care about their feelings, not care about whether or not they're meeting your expectations. Okay, so I regularly tell my ESTP, you don't lose anything by agreeing with me. It just makes both of us right. Doesn't work that well with SE for some reason. I mean, if you want it to work well with SE, you should point out, the thing is, you lose a great deal by disagreeing with me. There are all these opportunities. If you were to agree, you could claim this and this and this and these other things. But instead, you're not seizing the basic opportunity that would free up all these additional argumentational resources. I guess you just don't have very good SE. Fuck that. I do agree. No. And she pulls up your pants and makes you sandwiches. The dual relationship is complete. I'm not saying the dual relationship is not complete. I'm saying that it's provided growth areas for both of us that are particular to our individual beings and not to our types, as well as presenting typical interactional dynamics. So I part of what my growth in it is to realize that to accept that I genuinely know that much better. Like, I don't need to be reactive when she says this or that or this or that, because I can understand it for what it actually is, an FE attack. I can understand it as being motivated by what's actually motivating it, discomfort of something. And I can recognize it as either a reasonable attribution, projection, which it often is, or just, or like actually about something else, I guess is the other option. So, like tonight, she comes out and she's yelling, I'm going to bring this second car in because I can bring the key. Well, you could call that projection, I guess. Maybe she's thinking to herself, maybe I should have done something yesterday instead of making Eric do absolutely everything and then yelling at him when he doesn't do everything perfectly. Warped Remus. She's not a cheating whore. Why would you say such a thing? Anyway, the amount of arguments I go through with my father because of the fine thing is killing both of us. I mean, I get a lot of the dynamics of duality in my relationship. I understand them pretty clearly now, and I get a good sense of where it's not working like it's supposed to. It's like Kimberly is, at some point in Kimberly's adult life, she came to the conclusion that the only way she could be safe was to be unleverageable. That she'd always be the first one to say, well, fine then, let's just burn it all down to the ground. Now that's absolutely fucking toxic in a relationship, right? To be willing to go there at any moment. In other words, I will not show vulnerability here. I will not ask you to stay ever. I will not appear to be weak or sad if I think that the relationship is threatened or anything. I will threaten to leave you. And it's fucking insanely toxic. But it's something I broke her up pretty early on, I guess. And the main reason I was able to do that was she wouldn't listen to me at all when I saw her. But I read her like 3 articles from the internet saying exactly the same thing I said. And then she accepted that, in fact, it was universally known that threatening to break up with people in fights is a huge relationship no-no. And she was doing it multiple times. And I was just like, girl. Did I go to any pride parades yesterday? Was yesterday Pride Parade Day? Pride Parade Day? I mean, I guess I'm sort of proud of my beard. I don't remember them having any beard parades, though. I will say this for sure. I heard some crazy urban legend that people have pride parades about their sexuality. But that's obviously false, because only somebody who's completely insane would feel proud of their sexuality. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's like saying, I'm proud of my height. Why? I didn't do anything for it. I'm proud of my I'm proud of my eye wrinkles here. You know? Oh, great. Yeah, the real indication of what a great performer I am and a persevering guy. Why? They're just things on your face that you had nothing to do with them at all. Why would you be proud of that? I don't know. It's like it's the equivalent of racists. Sometimes you get racists who have things like Black Lives Matter or I'm Chinese or I'm a white guy and those freaking it's insane racism. It's like, what are you talking about? This made up fucking nonsense label that we need to pay more attention to which of these people are wiggly diggly diggly doos and which are wiggly diggly diggly das. We need to pay a lot of attention to that because, oh, that's important. Look how we're all wiggly diggly diggly doos, all of us. And that means what now? It means we get reparations for slavery. When am I getting my check? I want my check, actually. Now that I'm thinking, if we are going to hand out reparations for slavery, turns out it may end up being a huge advantage being transracial like me. Because I'm suspecting I could get reparations multiple times, right? So I'll switch to black, get reparations. I'll switch to Chinese. Then my status will be zeroed out, so to speak. I'll switch back to black, get another reparations. I could do that like 5 or 10 times. It'd be great. Every time I turn black, again, I have to relive the horrible, horrible experience of learning about how in a long time ago there was slavery when I went to school. I had to learn about that, and I was like, well, okay, wait, which ones are the ones who got slaved? Wiggly diggly doos? Oh, okay. Oh, am I one of those? How do I know? Oh, I just get to make it up arbitrarily? It doesn't matter? It doesn't mean anything? Isn't there like a blood test or something? No? But surely it's genetics. Nothing? It's completely made up? Oh, yeah, then I'm a wiggly diggly. I was slaved. And that's why you white people can go fuck yourselves. And that's why you have to always be super polite to me because, I had to learn about how some people who purportedly looked more like me than like you a long time ago were mistreated. Therefore, I was mistreated metaphorically or vicariously, you might say. Vicariously, you're my master and I'm your slave. And that's why you have to pay me reparations and I have to pick your cotton. Well, nobody's discriminating against short or tall people. Nobody's discriminating against gay people either. All right? That affords people who are engaged in ontological violation or actual rights violation way too much credit. When you say that somebody is, for example, racist against black people, you're saying, hey, that made up bullshit you use to justify your hatred, I validate it. That's bad. You're right. That made up bullshit is important, except it's not bad. It's good. After all, you made up some bullshit to justify your own bad behavior. Now, since you say the bullshit is bad, then in order for us to not justify your behavior, we must take the side that your bullshit is good. No, fucking retards. The bullshit is bullshit. It's not good. Not bad. It's not anything. No, nobody discriminates against gay people. Some individuals either produce ontological assault or real assault or actual discrimination in some regard against some other individual. Now, if I choose to discriminate against you, martial arts, because I don't like your mustache, then that's what I do. It's true. I might discriminate against you because of your mustache. I might discriminate against you because of your eye color. I might make up something about you. I'd say, you're Zoroastrian. I don't know your religion, but I'm going to say you're Zoroastrian. And I fucking hate Zoroastrians. Okay? I could say, I've arbitrarily decided that I don't like people that I perceive might be having sex with somebody of the same gender. And so I'm going to attribute that status to you and hate you arbitrarily for it. Right? Well, we don't pay any attention to the status that they're hating for. That just empowers their wrongness. That's not a thing that you can hate somebody for. What you can hate somebody for is, I hate this person because I have a pathological need to put somebody into a group so that I can reduce individuals to members of that group and don't have to think in a complex and nuanced way about them because I'm a fucking retarded loser. That's the reality of it. It doesn't matter what their group name is that they say they're discriminating against. You know, it's like, let's say Joey gets hit by a baseball 3 times in a game, right? He's got a lump on his shoulder, he's got a lump on his wrist, and he's got a lump on his shin from these getting hit by these balls. And so, you know, somebody says, "Oh, look at these lumps on there. Obviously, up here, it must have been a bear attack because, you know, that's about the height of bears. And here, it must have been a baby bear attack. That's about the height of baby bears. And this one down here, it must have been like a sea otter or something that attacked you. That's about their height." That's what you're doing there with that. Gay people are discriminated against. No, they're not. It's like that affords way, way, way too much legitimacy and power to the people who are actually doing something bad. Remember this. If somebody's discriminatory, that's perfectly fine. I can discriminate in lots of areas of my life. I'm discriminatory about my fast food Coca-Cola. I prefer McDonald's over any other fast food Coca-Cola because Jack in the Box is not reliable. Carl's Jr. is not reliable. Only McDonald's is consistently have Coke properly made, very fizzy, with the right amount of syrup and everything. So nothing wrong with being discriminatory. If I were renting a house to somebody, I would be discriminatory for sure in choosing the renter. I would say, these people are fucking trashy. I'm not going to rent to them. I say, these people seem like super boring and hand-wringing and fretful and SFJ-ish. I'm sure they're going to take good care of the place. I'm being discriminatory. For some reason, people think, oh my God, but you can't discriminate on your arbitrary perceptions about that person's sexuality. Well, I mean, you're right that it shouldn't be considered a relevant question in renting the house, right? But that doesn't mean you should be proud of being gay. It means you should say, you sort of, are you presuming things about my sexuality and judging me on those things? Because that doesn't make any sense at all if you're trying to rent me a house. And it's certainly your prerogative to not rent to me for those reasons, in my opinion. It's your property. But if you're telling me that the reason you're not renting to me is because I'm a homosexual, then I would point out that you don't know anything about how to decide who to rent to, because that's obviously not a relevant factor. I mean, you're going to suffer financially long term in your management of your properties because you're not making wise decisions about what criteria ought to be used to rent to people. It's a natural consequence for you. If you rent to the methy, semi-employed white couple over the hardworking and productive Mexican couple, you'll pay the natural consequence of that. Your place will go trash and then we'll pay the rent. That's the natural consequence. The only thing you should be proud of, really, are things that you did that were hard for you to do. So it's like almost nothing should I be proud of in life because I mostly do shit that's right in my wheelhouse. But occasionally I do things that are hard. Like I built that chicken coop outside. Big chicken coop, TE. That was hard. I'm proud of that. I'm like, wow, Eric, look, you built the thing. It's set up perfectly good all winter long, and it's an impressive, sturdy structure. I'm proud of it, not because it's good compared to other people's structures. I'm sure somebody who's better at building shit would build a much better chicken coop than me. I'm proud because it's so much better than what I expected myself to be able to do. Thanks, Timmy Hoodlum. Insightful. Yeah, I try to be insightful. I do. That's one of the things I'm going for. Going for insightful. I'm going for clever. I'm going for hilarious. I'm going for serious, concerned. I'm going for hard-hitting. I'm a hard-hitting journalist with a hell of a scope. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, look. Martial arts point out that in Russia they're openly discriminated, and in other places they're discriminated. Yeah, I mean, sure. It's also the case, though, that atheists are imprisoned in Egypt. But it doesn't mean you need to have atheist pride parades. It doesn't mean you should be proud of being an atheist. The only response to any of this stuff is outrage that individuals are violating the rights of other individuals and feeling justified and empowered in doing so because of group mores. Those mores need to be torn asunder, replaced with the stout and reasonable logic of TI. That's just how it is. Otherwise, you'll see oppression happening. The TI is really the only thing that prevents oppression. It's the only check we have. It has to stand in the way of TE, it's got to stand in the way of FE, and it's got to stand in the way of FI. FI and TI can team up plenty. FE and TI can team up sometimes. But at the end of the day, the only tool we have to prevent idiots from doing stupid shit is TI. And a pride parade is bad TI because it's conceding ground to your opponents. When you frame it as anything other than rights violation, you're empowering the bullshit warranting of those who are violating rights. If I go to your house and, maim your grandmother with a weed whacker and steal her jewelry and get arrested and go, she totally fucking deserved it. That woman is a inveterate bingo player. She just fucking plays bingo all the time. She's this awful human being. The worst thing we could do is ever mention that at all in relation to this subject. After all, a crime has been committed against a human being by another human being. We don't want to spend any attention at all to his ridiculous justifications. There's no reason to even hear them. Once we know that he willfully violated her rights and intentionally did so, it doesn't matter what his justifications are. Everybody who violates rights and doesn't admit wrongdoing and guilt is going to have some sort of justification for it, but that justification will always fail to hold water because otherwise it wouldn't be a rights violation. So, the key thing to take away is if after being robbed like that, grandmother were to hold a bingo players pride parade, she would have been completely bamboozled by the criminal who made up some bullshit to justify his obvious violent violation of her rights and violation of her property rights for the stealing of her stuff. It seems obvious in that example, right? That you'd think if grandma spent months out publicly advocating for the legitimacy and validity of bingo playing, that he would have won that argument, right? Same thing with gay pride parades, same thing with black pride, same thing with Catholic pride. You can take your fucking group labels and you can shove them up your collective asses, because the problem with those group labels is they're always used to reduce individuals to members of groups whose definitions are determined by the third party reducing the individual, not even by the individual themselves. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to make up some strawman bullshit about this group. This is what this group is. I'm going to assign you to the group, and then I'm going to include those bullshit things I made up about you because you're a member of that group. There we go. Perfect reasoning. No, not perfect reasoning. No, I agree with you, martial arts, that it's a subject worth talking about. But the reason I talk about it the way I talk about it is specifically because I parsed through all the various arguments about it, and clearly that's the one position that wins them all. So that's why I use that one. It's the only way to respond to identity politics. Like, you'll know we've actually solved the problems that might actually exist, that identity politics necessarily makes worse with its ham-fistedness. The problem that's underlying that might actually exist, for it to go away, requires not nobody's saying hate speech, but to present examples of people believing in race, thinking about race, and hold them up as objects of ridicule. Oh my God, can you believe these fucking morons think they are a race? When everybody responds like that, then race will no longer be a problem. Until everybody responds like that, race will be a problem. Because most people actually believe in it. They think it's a real thing. It's weird because most people don't believe that they have an invisible guardian angel sitting on their shoulder. But, who knows? Who knows why they believe things they believe? The Pride Parade is fun and merry. You misspelled Mary, Fate. It should be with an E. Merry. Where people are getting along gay and not. It's very FE. You should enjoy yourself. Okay, but they're getting along. I mean, I'm getting along with everybody in my house right now. I don't have to march down the middle of the street in little spandex pants and fucking rainbow wig, right? And anyways, why the need to convey so much information to me about your sexuality? It's like, everybody has sexuality, right? Like, I don't normally ask anybody about that. I don't normally speculate about that. I don't particularly want them to volunteer information about that even. It's like, although I don't mind it necessarily, but, can you imagine if Sinjin entered the chat at the beginning? I'm queer. I'm going to chat the fuck out of this pride chat. And then he proceeded to be like, guys, This is a memory of Stonewall. And all the pressure we've had to suffer. Fight on! And then I was like, so proud of you, Sinjin. That's so great, Sinjin. But then he didn't drop it. He just kept going like, I just want to remind everybody, I love sucking dick. I'm gay as fuck. And that's why I wear Speedos at the beach. It's not because I'm French. We're proud of you. We're proud of you, Sinjin. And then we started talking about something else. And pretty soon, Sinjin was like, and my butthole. I got it waxed today because if there's one thing I like taking up my butthole, it's a big fat schlong. Okay, Sinjin, when you stop talking about your sexuality, it's like, why are you so obsessed with this topic? It's like, don't we have anything better to talk about? You know what I'm saying? That's what makes gay pride parades ridiculous. You're not talking about a real thing that's a distinction that's relevant to anything. That's the problem. It's not a distinction that's relevant to anything, so there's no point in even talking about it. You're just playing in the hands of people who try to treat it as though it were relevant by giving it more relevance when it doesn't deserve any. How does it feel to be living in the past? Friday 9:45 p.m. Sunday night here. Well, see, living in the past gives you an SI double advantage because, when I get to the future you're already in, it'll still be 4 weeks ago. It's complicated. You gotta fill out a form, of course. I'm making it more relevant. My penis? It's as relevant as it can get, martial arts. It's the single most salient and relevant thing anybody's ever gently licked. I didn't misspelled Mary. You misspelled Mary. Don't judge me. You're an idiot to be. Okay, I agree. You didn't misspelled Mary in this sentence here. And I'm not judging. I'm hudging. It's half judgment, but also, Fate Wind, it's half hug. I'm hudging you. I'm giving you a hudge. It's okay, sweetie. Bless your little heart. Pat, 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 pat. That's a hudge. Half hug, half whatever the other thing was I said. I forget. My brain's broken now. Okay, I gotta wrap this. I gotta answer Jackie Kitty's question first. Jackie Kitty, how might an INFJ become better at managing finances? Well, I would say number one rule: don't spend more than 40% of your income on bubblegum. First rule of thumb. If you emerge from your childhood with a $3,000 a day gum habit, that's not conducive to long-term financial health. And you're going to have to change those behaviors, Jackie Kitty. Number two question. Are you actually a cat? Because I should warn you that cat INFJ finances are a little bit trickier than human INFJ finances. What with the need to invest in wet and dry food. It's a double whammy on the household budget. It could be really quite, unless you're one of those kitties that will eat just dry food, but you don't seem like that kind of kitty. You want the wet food too, I think. What am I making more relevant again? Oh, the gay thing, right? Yeah. Yeah, homos are cool. I like them fine. Are you a mind with a body or a body with a mind? I'm a body with a bind. I'm half body, half mind, and half soul, and half something else has not quite been identified yet. An INFJ lizard? No, I don't think it's an INFJ lizard. But it could be, I guess. I've never had an easy time typing lizards. They don't give you a lot to work with, really. Are you a body in an INFJ or an INFJ in a body reginator? I'm marshaling all of my most martial arts in order to be both a body in a mind in an INFJ's mind body and a reginator within a sandwich made out of two INFJ bodies. Once I've attained that, then you'll hear a single tone. That means Armageddon is nigh. I believe it's A sharp. Meow, like that. Probably that wasn't an A sharp though, because I don't have perfect pitch. Would somebody like to give me perfect pitch, please? Does anybody have any perfect pitch they could give me? I would like to have Ahmed Assam's perfect pitch. Ahmed Assam, you're not going to keep yours, are you? Okay. Listen, martial arts. I just got one last thing I want to tell you before I go to bed. It sounds like you're saying that you need to make gayness personally relevant to me. Now, if this is what I think it is, which is a request for anal, the answer is yes. As long as you're not huge, okay? Because I've never taken it up the butt before, and but I'm pretty confident because I put out of my butt some pretty big poops in my day. One of them was about the size of a small refrigerator the other day. It wasn't rectangular like a small refrigerator, but in terms of pure bulk, it was a single. Just as all the water splashed out of this one, and there's just a big ass fucking boulder in there. Like, wow, that's a poop. Where'd that come out of? My own butt? Wow. Maybe I could take it up the ass. If that thing fits out, then presumably the equivalent size thing would fit in, and that poop was the size of 100 men. No, it's not my claim about your sexuality, okay? It's not that. It's that you don't have a body, Sinjin. I didn't want to be the one to tell you. What you have is what's known as phantom body syndrome. So, you know how if like you get a finger amputated, you get phantom finger syndrome, and you feel pain in the finger you no longer have? Well, unfortunately, after a car accident, they had to amputate you everything below the neck. And they were surprised when you woke up, apparently completely convinced that your phantom body was real. So convinced, in fact, that when they put your head on a rolling tray, you believed you were walking and doing stuff and everything. And in fact, you became so convincing in pantomiming the movements of a human with the tray that when people look at you, they just see what appears to be a human being. But the truth is, your body's been dead and gone for 12 years now. And if it weren't for the tray, you'd never leave your room. So, take a moment tomorrow to say, thank you, Trey. Thank you for carrying my head around all these years. And thank you, Phantom Limbs, for being so realistic in your phantomhood. Can INTP exhibit high levels of empathy? Sure. I can exhibit high levels of empathy, and I'm polar. I was at freaking Coco's? I think it was Coco's. There's one Coco's in Glendora, and somebody came up to me, surprised me. Like, I was out by the car smoking a cigarette. Well, Kimmy was finishing her food or something, and asked me for a jacket, I think. No, he asked me for a blanket, if we had an extra blanket in the car, and his girlfriend was cold, and it was like a cold night, and they were living in their car, homeless or something. And I was like, I don't think we carry anything like that in the car. I don't think we had any blanket in the car. And he was like hustling around trying to get something, one way or the other. He didn't ask for money or anything. He just asked for a blanket. And so he was like, all right, we'll take it anyway, and went off. And all of a sudden, I just burst into tears. I was standing there, and it was just like, I just cried and cried outside. And I felt guilty. And it was because it took me by surprise. I had no emotional preparation for it or something. And it was very disturbing. The way that I was all affected. I sat out there, smoked a cigarette, and just felt this like deep sadness or something. Not something I'm very familiar with, but it passed in like 5 minutes. It was fine. What are you gonna do? It's like, if you think about that kind of shit, it's fucking depressing. If it pops up on you like that and you don't do anything, because I didn't really have time to process. I answered the question he asked, which was about a blanket we didn't have, but like if I'd been more proactive, I would have been like, well, hold on though, let me see, wear a jacket or something. It's like I didn't, and then he was gone. Hardly. And then later, like after he walked away, I was like, well, let me look and see. And then I looked around for him. I couldn't see him anywhere. It was a very memorable FI moment for me because it was one of the strongest instances of that kind of thing that I've ever experienced. I remember another one from childhood with a similar kind of situation. And I still remember it. I must have been 12 years old, and this guy approached me, and I didn't give him any money. And when I got to the car, and I told my mom that the guy had asked me for money, and she said, "Well, did you get me anything?" And I said, "No." I had this like big jar of coins. And she said something like, "That's very sad." And I just burst into tears and was like, "Wow, what's happening?" And it was awful. What's the difference between empathy and sympathy? I don't know what that is that I'm experiencing there. It's probably sympathy, but empathy is more like I can see the equal legitimacy of your position, even though it differs from mine, or your approach, even though it differs from mine. So when I'm being empathetic, I'm respecting FI's claim to authenticity without scrutiny, I guess. Best TE you did was learning to tie your shoes. It's an important one. You wouldn't want to spend your whole life tripping over your shoelaces or having to wear Velcro. Well, Sinjin, that's perfectly okay. Not everybody learns to tie their shoes at the same time. For me, best TE I ever did was puberty. It took me nearly 14 years to figure it out. Finally, I don't even know exactly what I did, but something clicked and I started growing hair where there had not been hair before, and my armpits started to smell bad. I was like, boom, I'm on it now. And I'm still in puberty to this day. It's been a very extended puberty. I expected it to be over about 20 years ago or something, but 20, more like 30 years ago, but instead, I think my voice is still getting a little bit deeper. I'm pretty sure I started lactating. I didn't get to see the girls' class, the sex ed class, but I think that's what's happening is I'm lactating. You're really craving a big cow? Oh, I'm sorry. You're really craving a cig now. You have the best of both worlds. Have your cig now with the big cow. That way the cow can enjoy some secondhand smoke. You can kill two birds with one stone. After you're done smoking, you can slaughter the cow and make hamburgers. Good plan. WEP, mine happened earlier this year. Your what? Your bestie. Was it using a Trapper Keeper notebook? A lot of pockets. Okay, I gotta go in or go to bed or something. Or try to get Spacey a proper place to sleep. So I just making him uncomfortably meow in the meow. Thank you all for being here. Can INTP exhibit high levels of empathy? Not very nuanced, probably. Thanks, science, for the tray. Yeah, I know. Otherwise, Sinjin would be dead. The tray provides him all the nutrition he needs, too. He's got specially genetically modified neck veins that work like roots, except they just eat mostly chrome. So, they got a chrome tray and yada yada. Spank Becky for you, huh? She's sleeping right now. That'd be a funny way to wake her ass up. What are you doing, Eric? Sinjin told me to spank you. I wouldn't have done it, Becky, but it was Sinjin who said it, so I figured it must be good FE. No. That's he misguided you on this one, Eric. That's bad FE. What do you mean? Well, you definitely shouldn't have pulled down my pants before you spanked me. Well, that's how you spank people, right? Yeah. Can you see the big red handprint on my left cheek here? Yeah, I got you pretty good with that one. Yeah, that's it's called sexual assault. Sexual assault? I mean, Sinjin told me to spank you. Apparently, you've been a very bad girl. Did he tell you what I did? He told me. He told me you put mayonnaise on all of our sandwiches. If that doesn't deserve a spanking, I don't know what does. Everybody knows mayonnaise sucks ass. Nobody wants to eat that shit. It's like the cum of spreads. Miracle Whip is like the cum of spreads with sugar in it. Okay, on that note, unless you want manseed on your ham and rye, don't use mayonnaise, for God's sake. Thanks a lot for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And good night, for God's sake, Eric. Goodbye already. Go to sleep.